keeping you company this Ramadan.
Well, the time is just gone, 9 minutes past 5 on the Iftar Drive, and we are now taking a look at an international story of interest. And we are talking about the Brazilian President Luiz Inácio Lula da Silva heading to China and going with a massive delegation, hoping to boost trade with China and investments. Now, we know there's been a lot of interest as far as China is concerned of late. And what does this actually mean for Brazil, considering that we in South Africa are closely linked to both Brazil and China through BRICS? And we are going across now to be joined by none other than Ashraf Patel, who has got a passion for this particular subject. Brother Ashraf, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Ramadan Kareem to you, and hope all is well.
Walaikum salam, Inayat and listeners. Hope you all well.
Yes, Alhamdulillah, doing very well. And I know you've got a huge interest, particularly when it comes to China and its relationship with the rest of the world, with the relationship with in South Africa and Brazil. I mentioned being part of BRICS, and the election of Lula as president obviously was greeted with a lot of happiness in many countries around the world, and that includes China. Let's look at the president himself wanting to go to China. What does he want?
Just 10 days ago, President Emmanuel Macron was in China, and he took a huge trade and investment delegation, and that was deemed successful. And now President Lula of Brazil, newly elected for the second time, has gone to China. In fact, this is his fourth visit. His first visit came in 2009, and that was a huge development that preceded BRICS, which was then formed a year later. So this is a sort of back to the old friends, Brazil, China, in international relations. Under the Workers' Party, there's been significant gains in the broader developmental perspective of Brazil and Latin America. And in that same period, China has moved in leaps and bounds into a kind of superpower status. So we've seen a massive shift in the last 2 or 3 years, particularly in the post-COVID years, where China is now occupying the center of economic and increasingly political gravitas. So it is the new superpower emerging.
Well, certainly is a shift. In fact, I think I just want to move away slightly from Lula's visit to China, but also looking at it as a superpower in international diplomacy. And recently, we've seen China at the forefront of this entire Iran Saudi Arabian issue that has been playing about, and bringing these two countries together as well in terms of facilitating. So, are we starting to see China playing a very, very different role in the world altogether?
Yes, look, they've been quite clever. So remember, they mastered the game of globalization. So in the 1990s, when the world opened up at the end of the Cold War, we assumed that the West liberal capitalist model was the winner. But in the background, you had China that joined the World Trade Organization in 1996, and it played the game of globalization better than anyone else. And today it's sitting with $2.8 trillion in surplus. And it's reinvesting that into global infrastructure programs, such as the Belt and Road Initiative, of which Latin America and Africa and Asia benefit. But it's using now that economic capital is now being translated into diplomacy and global political capital. And so that is a new model that we're seeing evolving. And that has now moved the economic power to the east as the West declines, as the U.S. financial crisis and the European stagnation continues, you see this new boost taking place in the East, led by China and other countries.
Yes, and I see that there are many countries, like for instance Lula, going across now, hoping to boost trade and also secure investments in China. And I'm sure that these countries have got a lot to offer each other, just like we see our situation here in South Africa. But also at the same time, looking at this huge global interest, you mentioned Macron going across to China. We've heard rumblings come through from the likes of the Saudis as well, where they are looking at selling some of their oil in the Chinese currency. And as you pointed out, that China is definitely in that superpower category at this point in time. Where at one point in time we spoke about Russia, we spoke about the United States of America, but I think even bigger than America, even bigger than Russia, China is a much bigger power by the sound of things. That
Yes, in fact, in the last quarter, it grew 14.2%. No other nation has recorded such growth. Most nations, according to the IMF, are going to hover around 0.5% GDP this year. South Africa may even have a negative GDP because of our disastrous policy that we have. And yet China is going to register 5.6% GDP. And that's in a post-COVID economy. So that shows you that they have a very sophisticated economic policies, but very astute political and bureaucratic leaders that can manage a very complex economy, as well as the technology and the civil service that goes with it. And therefore, they have that formula that they are perfecting every day to become this. So if you see the Lula visit now, Lula is on a 3-day visit, and he is taking a business delegation of 200 that includes 100 of the top Brazilian companies. And they are set to sign over $500 billion of investment with China in all sectors, from agriculture to trade to supply chains to semiconductors to satellites. And so this kind of trade and investment partnership is moving beyond the traditional agriculture and energy trade that has characterized these nations. They're now moving into the 21st century with new kinds of investment in technology, in climate change, etc., that's taking place. So it's a huge shift, and I think it's going to define the kind of 21st century order that is evolving quite rapidly.
So we're going to go for a quick ad break. We'll come back, and it's just a few more minutes I would require of your time. So please stay on the line.
Shimmer, sparkle, captivate. Nothing less than a masterpiece. Droplets of gold inspires precious design. Platinum bursts with intricate freshness. And every pure diamond becomes more than just a girl's best friend. Voda Gold Gem Jewelers, where timeless dreams become a reality. Come to us. We tailor-make designer gold, platinum, and diamond jewelry. Trade in or remodel your old gold. Clad yourself with classy name-branded watches. We offer insurance valuation and freezer card calculation. Visit us at 534 Ridge Road, Overport, or call 031 208 9142. Voda Gold Gem Jewelers, manufacturers of fine gold and diamond jewelry.
The month of mercy and endless blessings. The month of sharing the love, care, and spreading hope. This Ramadan, you can make it count by supporting one of the many projects by Penny Appeal South Africa. Donate your zakah, lila, fidya, kafara, and fitra safely and securely, knowing that your support goes to those most in need. Give hope. Make every minute count. May all your efforts and intentions be accepted. Penny Appeal, serving humanity, transforming lives.
Freedom Stationery supply Marlin and Marlin Kids pens to me and my school friends. They supply just about everything we need to help us get a better education, from books to files to rulers. In fact, any any accessory we need. Freedom Stationery. Education for the nation. What does accessory mean?
Southern Africa Dawa Network is a non-profit organization striving to uplift the disadvantaged and empowering through education and Dawa. Donate to the SADN centers, the M.A. Motala Islamic Center, as well as our Islamic centers in Amoti, Imtalumi, Botshabelo and Castile. Donate your zakat and lillah today. Contact Farooq Sheikh 076-321-0650, Yusuf Mohammadi 072-259-3457, or the SADN head office 031 304 8000. Our account, Standard Bank, account number 050-856-294 for your zakat, or 050-879-790 for your lillah. Dawah through education, education through Dawah, the Southern Africa Dawah Network.
For a long time, we've lived in a centralized world where institutions held the all-important data and confirmed all transactions. Those times are over. Welcome to Libertas Group, a blockchain development company boasting an ecosystem that continually redefines the way we do business. Our blockchain is decentralized, making it immune to hacking or alteration, putting the power back in your hands with no middleman so you can focus on the growth of your business. Libertas, the simplest investment choice you'll make.
Salam Media, your spiritual companion this Ramadan.
Well, we're about 35 minutes away from the time of Iftar in Johannesburg as we continue with the broadcast, and we are talking with researcher Ashraf Patel. We're talking about the Brazilian President Lula taking a massive delegation out to China and to boost trade and also cooperation between the countries in more ways than one. Now, Ashraf, just to continue, and we know for the fact that, Lula obviously going to China, and at one point in time with his predecessor, the relationship was somewhat strained between China and Brazil, and mainly as a result of the former president Bolsonaro, because he had basically made his position very, very clear. He linked himself with people like Donald Trump, and this somewhat strained the relationship. So there is a bit of damage control that Lula needs to do as well.
Is very matured, given BRICS is now...
Ashraf, are you with us? Yes.
Yes. Am I audible?
Yes, you can continue.
Yes, the relationship is much more mature within BRICS. As China is quite patient, they have a long-term vision in terms of partnerships. And so the electoral cycles of 4 and 5 years, sometimes you get Republicans or right-wing governments, as you've seen in Brazil and India, and after a while you get a change towards the more social democratic kind of government. But under Lula, it's more than that. It's much more committed to a global equitable order. And so there is a unique convergence between President Lula of Brazil and President Xi of China. Both of them have emerged in the last 3 months in particular as important players in terms of global peace processes. They both are going to put forth proposals on resolving the Russia-Ukraine conflict. And then you're beginning to see the old ways of Jair Bolsonaro. He's faded, or he's fading into the Brazilian kind of political situation. He hasn't made any impact or threat so far. But yes, he does have significant support. At least 40 to 45% of the population is very much in that line of sort of reactionary, right-wing kind of thinking. So it's always going to be a challenge. But the only way to kind of defeat the fascism is to broaden the developmental dividend. And that means to make a kind of broad-based social model appropriate and work for people. I think that is the best solution. And that is going to be entrenched in the partnership with China that is much more broad-based nowadays.
Ashraf, just looking at Brazil and what Lula is set to achieve, South Africa, should we be looking or considering the same, or have we just gone too far down the line in terms of our relationship with China, or are there still other areas of opportunity?
Look, under the Ramaphosa administration, unfortunately, he hasn't got a coherent economic policy. You've seen it with the investment conference today. More of the same. It's the fifth investment conference in South Africa, and yet you're having load shedding stage 5, stage 6, stage 7, which means that none of the foreign direct investment that the president purported or claimed to attract is having any impact in the economy. In fact, on the contrary, there's more extraction of dividends and wealth out of South Africa than into South Africa. Therefore, we have a foreign exchange crisis, deficit. We have lack of investment in infrastructure that matters, and that's energy, road, rail, and ports. Now, without that, you cannot have any kind of industrial development or export. And so we actually amongst the worst performing economy in the world. I think we're in the top 10 worst performing economy in the last year. And that is a sad indictment on President Ramaphosa, on his investment team, and on the so-called just energy transition people. I mean, they're clueless. They don't understand economics 101. No country in the world moved into renewable energy overnight, and they want us to magically move into renewable energy. It doesn't work. The renewable energy cannot feed into the baseload of the national grid. So they're living in a kind of Alice in Wonderland fairy tale economy. The president can laugh and smile because he's a billionaire. Electricity prices doesn't affect him or his cabinet. It affects ordinary people. And I think this is the tragedy of South Africa today.
Well, Chef, we're going to have to leave it at that. As always, we appreciate you taking time out and sharing your time with us here on Salam Media. We wish you well, inshallah, and enjoy the best of the rest of the month of Ramadan, inshallah. And I'm sure you and I will be touching base from time to time as we normally do. But for now, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Shukran, United. All the best.
Ashraf Patel and with us, and with the Institute of International Dialogue, and also senior researcher when it comes to global affairs. And the time is just gone, 5:27. We are about half an hour away from the time of iftar when the adhan is given in Johannesburg. And we still have got our humanitarian segment coming up. And this afternoon, we're talking about a practical journey. We're talking about building a burger and a boerewors roll. What is this all about? We will find out. And also looking at our nasiha. And the nasiha will be with Maulana Ayyub Mokwena from the Pakistan Masjid, Masjid al-Rahman. And he is part of the Pakistan Muslim Association.